There is nothing impossible here. Push the limits of your imagination and immerse yourself in the mystery of the past. Now, prepare to become a pharaoh, because this is your adventure. The place is the ancient Egyptian civilization, your country. Since you are identified as the son of the sun, you must work hard and wake up at the first light of the morning. You have a lot of work to do. Before you even get to the breakfast room, your servants will take care of your personal grooming. This is very important for both your health and your appearance. All Egyptian men and women of status wore black coal over their eyes to protect them from the harmful effects of the sun and to try to look like the god Horus. The officials will remove every hair on your body, including your hair. Perhaps you can wear a false goatee, but you must be protected from lice and stay away from hair. Then you will be washed all over your body with various fragrances and creams to make you smell nice and reduce the effects of the sun. In those years, there is no way to get rid of annoying flies. They can really get on your nerve. But some of the earlier pharaohs kept servants with them whose bodies were completely covered in honey. So the flies in the room were interested in the honey maid. The day is just beginning, and have you noticed that people are all short? One of his grandfathers, second Ramses, is known as the tallest pharaoh, and at only 173 meters tall, he looked gigantic. This shouldn't surprise you because the average height of Egyptian men in those years was 163 due to the one-dimensional diet and living standard. In the same period, the average height in Central Asia was 158 and in Europe around 166. The capital of his reign was Tep, and the god of this city was Ammon. Ammon is also the greatest god, and there are different depictions of him, and you are seeing one of them right now. Another one that is just as important is Ra. Look, the one with the interesting head. He also has the sun on his head because he is the sun god. After a while, the two will form the cult of Ammon-Ra. But the important thing now is to go to the temple and give thanks to Ammon. Because there's a ceremony today and you are the pharaoh, you are also the chief prince. And because you are believed to have divinity, after you leave the temple, you must go to the Nile River and release your sperm into the flowing water of the Nile. This is a ritual that is performed from time to time, though not very often, to ensure a bountiful harvest. Remember that the most important source of livelihood for your people is the agricultural products of the fertile plains of the Nile. And don't get on bad terms with the clergy, because the Egyptian temples have their own military power and large economy. They also have the support of the people because they are religious institutions. These guys are no joke, and if they label you as an enemy of religion, the uneducated public will turn on you in an instant. Only one Egyptian pharaoh came into conflict with religious authority. His name was Akhenaten. He came up with one of the first known monotheistic beliefs, but this monotheistic belief was an interesting system in which the sun was recognized as a god rather than an invisible deity. And it didn't work, but it brought great destruction. Pharaoh Akhenaten, also known as the sun worshipper, changed the capital, and there was great internal turmoil, wars and famine in the country. An authority could not be established. After his death, Akhenaten became the worst ruler of Egypt, and the religion of the sun he spread disappeared and was replaced by the temple of Ammon and disappeared from history. Even his own family returned to the Ammonite faith. By the way, if you are planning to get married soon, choose carefully, because inter-sibling marriage is quite common in the royal family. This practice, which is meant to keep the power within the family, may cause disgusting impressions about you even 3,000 years after your death. Therefore, it is better to choose a woman of status and without blood tie. But be sure to ask your prospective wife to remove her headdress before marriage, because Egyptian women also shaved their heads and wore wigs or other headgear. So first appearances can be deceiving. It is not important whether the children to be born are boys or girls. Women can also become pharaohs in the country, because there is social and economic equality throughout the country. Some of the female pharaohs of their ancestors would have leaked if we didn't wear them. They preferred it because it was a divine symbol rather than looking like men. Meanwhile, new threats could come from the north at any time. You know that the biggest trouble for Egypt came from the Hittites, an Anatolian people. The Hittites, both a powerful civilization and a warrior people, fought a great war with their grandfather, second Ramses, resulting in equality and the first written treaty in history, the Kadesh Treaty. As long as the Egyptian army was based on chariot soldiers and archers with good marksmanship, you could survive for a long time. But don't forget that Hittite spies are everywhere in the country. The Egyptian legal system, which has been in place for thousands of years, is well developed. People can seek their rights in the courts. Even in divorces, there is an exchange of compensation and alimony. Monogamy is compulsory. Rape is punishable by castration, while a woman who has sex with a married man has her nose cut off. In fact, the punishment for many crimes is nose cutting. In some parts of Egypt, there are even towns where people who have their noses cut off live together. Theft is punishable by hand amputation or imprisonment. After a while, these prohibitions will be adopted first by the Jews and will form the basic legal system of many religions. Keep in mind that cats are sacred too. You must not harm them. The Egyptians believed that the glow in the dark eyes of cats symbolized the sun gods. Either they would continue to shine in the darkness of the underworld after the sun went down. And for many other reasons, cats are considered sacred, and the penalty for killing them is often execution. In a house where a cat died, there would be days of mourning, a funeral, and the cat would be mummified. You can imagine how important they were. But are you curious about the historical firsts of your ancestors as the Pharaoh of Egypt? For example, the tradition of the first engagement ring has long existed in Egyptian culture. There were the first modern toilets, the first professional women doctors, women business people. In fact, medicine was so advanced in ancient Egypt that various surgeries were even performed. Antidotes and medicines were made from snake venom. Toothpaste was used. And circumcision was so common that even in ancient drawings we see various circumcision rituals. Your ancestors defined a year as 365 days and 12 months. The first pyramid was built in 2600 BC by the Egyptian architect Imhotep. Imhotep was the first recorded Egyptian physician, engineer, and architect. People today think of Egypt as having a harsh system of slavery, but in fact it may have had a better labor union than today. Leave aside the Hollywood, inspired myths of workers with whips on their backs, because the truth is quite different. Excavations at the Giza site have conclusively proven that the whipping of workers is a myth. They had weekly and annual vacations, health insurance, housing, regular salaries, daily beer and sunpile allowances, schools for their children, and even courts to appeal against injustice. Their marriages were also covered by the state and the couple was given a house. The first labor protest in history took place during the reign of 3rd Ramses because of a mishap in the body creams given to the workers. Fortunately, we know all this because they recorded everything. But it is interesting to note that there is no archaeological evidence of the persecuted Hebrew slaves in Egypt whose story is recounted in the Torah and forms the basis of the Jewish faith. At the same time, there is no such population movement in Egyptian history. Speaking of pyramids, you can design one yourself. The inside of a pyramid is full of booby traps, dark paths, labyrinths, and cursed hieroglyphs. Often their positions are synchronized with the stars in the sky. They are filled with treasures, and every square inch of them is decorated with mathematical finesse. For example, the Pyramid of Cheops, built in the name of the ruler Cheops, is made of 2,300,000 blocks of stone, each weighing many tons. Inside, the tomb of the pyramid is 40 meters above the ground and 100 meters below the top. Thousands of years after your death, people initially thought that aliens must have helped you and your ancestors to build these pyramids. But in fact, this is nothing more than a tourist mystery and legend, because it was only recently discovered that there were quarries around where the pyramids were built and the blocks were transported from there. Hundreds of meters long ramps were built to pull the rocks upwards, which took years to prepare, and the blocks were transported with the labor of animals and people, plus a great mathematical work. The construction of the Pyramid of Cheops involved a labor force of 100,000 people. But math is really important. Even a centimeter deviation in the preparation of the ground can cause the summit to be skewed and create a different shape and ruin your afterlife. You will be embalmed before you are buried there. Your internal organs will be removed and placed in jars, and your brain will be removed with the help of a hook through your nose. Only your heart is allowed to stay in place, because the Egyptians believe that the heart is where thinking takes place. Once all the procedures are complete and you are placed in your tomb chamber with your treasures, you will never be left alone. But Horus will always keep his eye on the walls of your tomb, because whenever you do wrong, he will always watch you as your conscience, and with his sharp gaze, he will haunt you even in eternal life to correct your mistake. Days will pass. Even after thousands of years, mankind will continue to wonder at your mystery and admire everything you have built, even your decomposed body. So much so that 70 of the world's archaeological excavations will be carried out in Egypt, and even though the modern Egyptian people call your works idols and heathen relics, they will still be able to sustain their economy thanks to you. Fortunately, he is not dead yet, and as a young pharaoh, he has a long life ahead of him. Maybe you will stay on the throne for 90 years like your ancestor Pharaoh Pepe, or 60 years like the legendary ruler Second Ramses, and bring prosperity to your country. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. Have a good day.